Welcome back to Ball Knowledge, where we talk about things. What we are here to talk about is basically we're ranking NBA teams based on their dynasties. And a huge shout out to this guy right here, this YouTube channel, because basically it's almost like plagiarism, almost. And anyway, here tied at 26th place, we have the Hornets, the Clippers, Memphis Grizzlies, Timberwolves, and the New Orleans Pelicans. Basically, these teams have never won anything. They've never even made a conference final, so there's not really much to talk about. Except for the Clippers, their only enduring quality is having Chris Paul, who's retired now, but was very good back then. Now at 25th place, we have the Indiana Pacers, 2000. Basically, they made the finals, and they didn't win it, of course, because they'd be higher on this list. Oh yeah, the way I'm making this, or ranking this, is number of NBA titles they've won, how good their players are, all of that stuff. So we have many more teams. We're only 6 teams in. So, oh yeah, there's also a lot of ties. And at 24th place, we have the Phoenix Suns, who basically they never established a true dynasty. And for 23rd place, we have the Orlando Magic, which 1995 and 2009, they've made the finals. But once again, they haven't won it. And they've had Shaquille O'Neal, one of the best players of all time, but still they couldn't capitalize. And we have another tie as the Utah Jazz and the Brooklyn Nets, both in the late 2000s, like 2007 to 2010, I'd say. And they've been to the finals twice in a row, but they've lost it twice in a row. And tied for 18th place, we got the Sacramento Kings during the 1950-51 season, the Raptors during the 2019 season, and the Denver Nuggets in 2023. All these teams have won at least once the championship, and they've never made it to a final, which is weird. I would prefer to put the Sacramento Kings at the bottom, more the bottom than as the Raptors and the Nuggets, because the last time they won it was in 1951. But the Raptors right now are having a very slow and long decline. At 17th place, we got the Portland Trail Blazers. In 1977, they won the championships, and in 1990 and 1992, they made the final twice, but they lost twice, which is sad to see. And really, they haven't had much good players except for Clyde Drexler. And, well, that's it. And for 16th place, we got the Dallas Mavericks nearing the 2010 season. 2011, they won the championship. And 2006, they came runners-up. Also in 2024, which is 1 year ago, they came runners-up too. And at 15th place, we got the Oklahoma City Thunder, who during the late 1970s were not a force to mess around with, as they won, I want to say, in 1977, and they came runners-up a few times during the 1970s. Coming in at number 14 on our list is the Washington Wizards, who in 1978, they won the championship, and during the 80s, they've had two of some of the best players ever, Manute Bol and Muggsy Bogues. Muggsy Bogues was 5'3" and Manute Bol was 7'6". Talk about polar opposites. In 13th place, we got the Milwaukee Bucks during the early 1970s. In 1971, they won the NBA championship finals, and in 1974, they won their conference finals, but they lost. And in 12th place, we have the Atlanta Hawks, formerly known as the St. Louis Hawks. During the 1958 season, they won the NBA championships under the name St. Louis Hawks. And did you know that from 1957 to 1961, they won straight NBA division? And at 11th place, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is pretty surprising because you think they'd won more than one championship, but really they haven't. because back then, during the 80s, they weren't really that good. They kind of sucked. But why I call this a so-called dynasty is because when LeBron James and all those other guys made it to the finals time after time again, they just kept doing it until they finally won. We are now entering the top 10, as our first as the top 10 is Houston Rockets during 1995 and 1996, as they had on paper one of the best teams that should have ever came out, because they had Scottie Pippen, Charles Barkley, and Hakeem Olajuwon on the court at the same time. And they won 2 consecutive championships, 1995 and 1996. Now that's a dynasty. Coming in at 9th place is the Philadelphia 76ers. Although they have been all over the place, in the 1980s, like the early 1980s, they've been prominent in making the finals multiple times, but keep losing, except for their 3 championships under the belt. But one of those championships came when they were the Syracuse Nationals back in the early days of the NBA. Coming in at 7th place is a personal favorite of mine, the Bad Boy Pistons. During the late 80s and early 90s, they were dominant with Dennis Rodman and Billy Lambier. Well, they were basically dirty players, but they still won 2 in a row, and they made the finals many times. In 6th place is the Miami Heat. Well, I think everybody knows what happened during those times. In 2006 to 2013, they completely tore it up, with the big 3 being Chris Bosh, LeBron James, and Dwayne Wade. Basically, they made the finals a lot, but they won only 3 times, 2006, 2012, and 2013. Coming in at number 5 was the surprising one for me, the San Antonio Spurs. During the late 2000s and early 2000s, they were a very strong, impactful team with Tim Duncan and David Robinson leading the pack. They won 5 championships during that time. Guys, we are nearing the podium right now, and at number 4, we have the Golden State Warriors during the 2010s era. Why I say this is such a good dynasty is because they had Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and once again, the GOAT of three-pointers, Steph Curry. They led him to so many NBA titles that you cannot even count on one finger. This changed the game of basketball. We are giving the bronze medal to the greatest of all times team, the Chicago Bulls. This, I believe, was the greatest dynasty, although they only won 6 championships. The only time they didn't win the championships is when Michael Jordan retired. They had such good players like Michael Jordan, of course, the greatest of all time, Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, and many others, so many to name. Bringing home the silver medal is the Los Angeles Lakers during the 1980 season, as they won so many championships, like so many. If it wasn't them, it would be the Celtics. But they had players like Magic Johnson, who really were pretty good. And the number 1 spot in our ranking system is, I can't afford the drum roll because I'm too poor. Yeah, but we have the Boston Celtics from the 1960s seasons. They won everything, man. They have 18 championships under their belt, and like 50% of that was from the 60s. Like Bill Russell, man, he has 11 championships just himself. Imagine what happened in that dynasty. But it was legendary. He carried the team with a few other players. And basically that's all we have. Subscribe for more.